All right, welcome to our 5 nutrition rules for fat loss over 40. This is all going to be geared towards women over 40 or close to 40 and helping them address visceral fat, which is the thing that most people don't understand, which is why all the calorie plans, things that you used to do that aren't working anymore, all your workouts, none of it's working anymore because the rules change. So we're going to talk about that. Now, I've worked with 2,500 women over the last decade, all of them over the age of 35, 40 years old. And my average results are 20 to 35 pounds of fat in 6 weeks. Yes, that is true. 24 and a half is the average. 90% of my clients lose at least 20 pounds in 6 weeks. I even guarantee our results, or we just work with you for free or give your money back. So now what I've learned is that nutrition is the way you lose fat. It's 100% nutrition related. How do I know that? Because I don't require my clients to kill themselves in the gym or even work out to lose the fat. Whether you're working out or not, you're still going to lose 20 to 35 pounds. And most women that I work with are busy. They have families, they work, they're stressed, they have careers, they have jobs, they have businesses. And they're like, I got to find more time to work out. I got to get a trainer. I got to get a workout plan and fit my macros and blah, 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 blah. All the things and nothing works. Maybe it worked before, but it's not working now. And I'm going to tell you why it doesn't, because you're focusing on subcutaneous fat, not visceral fat. And we're going to talk about the difference here for a second and what to do about it. And there's 5 simple rules to follow when it comes to nutrition. None of it has to do with your macros or your calories or your points or fitting it into whatever. It's all about addressing the things that cause the visceral fat, addressing that, okay? And helping address the imbalances in your body. So we're going to break that down. So if you feel like you're stuck, if you've tried everything, you're right in line with all of my clients. People come to me. I don't always get to be the first thing, but I'm usually the last thing that they do because I'm their last resort. They're like, and I'll happily take that on. I'll take that weight and that pressure like, Jared, this better work. I've heard that a lot. And it does. I literally have a client right now in our program. Her name's Martha. She's like, Jared, nothing helps me lose weight. I've spent like $10,000 in the last 5 years on functional medicine and blah, blah, blah. And she's lost like 15 pounds in the last like month, right? Like, so it's one of those things where you absolutely can get the body to respond. You just have to follow these rules. Okay. And for those who are like, I'm already doing all these rules, well, stick to the end because there's a whole section for you on why you haven't been able to see the results, even if you're following these rules. Okay. Now, after 40, the rules change. You have to understand there's different rules in calories in, calories out, macros, and working out, right? Your body responds differently. Hormones change, of course. Metabolism slows down. You lose muscle mass, insulin resistance kicks in, etc. Stress hits harder. And visceral fat accumulates faster and easier. And if you don't know the difference between the two different fats, this is probably why you're stuck. There's actually more than that, but these are the 2 main ones. It's probably why you're stuck, okay? So subcutaneous fat is the pinch and inch stuff under the skin above the muscle that like everybody's got right on the top, right? That's affected by calories. This is why when you cut your calories, you're like, yeah, I can drop a few pounds, but then it plateaus. Why? Because visceral fat, which is like the deeper, more stubborn midsection, like, that starts to accumulate in your body, isn't driven by calories in, calories out, and isn't affected by it very much. What causes it, what drives visceral fat is inflammation, blood sugars imbalances, and insulin, cortisol problems or imbalances, poor sleep, low muscle tone, toxins, and what foods you eat, like protein, fiber, etc., versus how much, which we're going to talk all about. So it's not that you need another macro plan or a workout plan or another calorie plan. You need a plan that addresses the visceral fat. Because if all you're doing is the typical plans you've always done and been taught, that's why. It's because you're not addressing the key imbalances right here that are causing it all. Now, some of you are like, why do functional medicine? And I still haven't lost weight. Well, just wait. Okay. So let's break down the rules then to address the stuff that causes the visceral fat rather than just the calories. Okay. These are the 5 foundational nutrition rules that help every woman over 40 lose fat and feel better. And I can say every woman because every woman I've ever worked with has lost weight. Every single one of them. I've never seen someone lose less than 10 pounds in 6 weeks. My average 90% lose at least 20, right? So here's rule number 1, get enough fiber in the day. Everyone talks about protein, but fiber is one of the most overlooked nutrients and really underrated for women over 40. It plays a huge role in everything from your blood sugars, your gut health, your hormones, detoxing, feeling full, your cravings, all of that, right? Now, don't think supplements where I got to take fiber supplements. Sure, maybe that could help, but you got to think real food. Focus on fiber-rich foods. And I also like to focus on fibers that are easier to digest. Grains and legumes and even nuts and seeds, which have good fiber, are harder to digest, which can cause some other problems, right? So things like vegetables, and you don't notice there's no salads on here. Salads are pretty low fiber actually. Even a big old salad is barely the same as like a serving of green beans, right? So fruits, same thing. Like grapes and watermelon are tasty, but they don't have a lot of fiber. Not saying you shouldn't eat them, just incorporate your fruits that have high fiber, right? And other fiber-rich foods like avocados. And yes, chia seeds, flax seeds are super high fiber, but a lot of other type of high fiber foods are harder to digest. Not that you shouldn't eat them, just if you're going to be eating a lot of fiber, I think it should come from easier to digest fibers. Now, an easy way to do this, these are not the only foods you have to eat, but incorporate them with every meal. Fruit and vegetables. Women are like, should I eat fruit? Yes, we're going to talk about that. But when you want a snack, go for veggies and fruits, not for a weight loss hack, but because you need to increase your fiber. Right? It's going to help you feel full. It's going to fight cravings, right? And it helps you get your fiber up. So again, these should be foundational in your diet as far as just getting the fiber in. Doesn't have to be the only thing. Just make sure you're getting all the fiber you need. Then we also talk about the protein. Fiber and protein go together. If all you're doing is getting that protein in and everything is just cottage cheese and everything and protein powders, you're going to have problems down the road, especially if you're not getting enough fiber. Okay. So one of the biggest mistakes though is that a lot of women don't eat enough protein. That is a huge problem. And protein does help your muscle and your metabolism and keeps you full and stabilizes blood sugar and all the things, right? Most women need 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal if you're eating 3 meals a day. You don't need to be stuffing your face. Everything has protein and doing even 1 gram of protein per body weight. I don't even think you need that much. But 30 to 40 is pretty adequate for most women. And quality is always going to trump quantity all day when it comes to protein. What I mean by that is real food protein are best, right? And if you're eating bars and shakes and all that kind of stuff that's more processed, number one, it needs to be very, very high quality, which very few are. And it's got to be used sparingly. If you're pounding protein bars and pounding shakes, that's probably why. Because remember, what drives visceral fat? Toxins, inflammation, even blood sugar imbalances, which are all going to come from processed foods. So real food is the key, okay, to get your protein. And I like terminology like organic, grass-fed, pasture-raised, wild-caught, that kind of stuff is important when it comes to your protein and just all foods in general. And it's not a make or break necessarily, but remember, what drives visceral fat and health over years? Well, let me say it this way. What drives weight gain is poor health. So what do we want to do to lose weight? Get healthy. How do you get healthy? You don't eat processed foods. You try to eat foods that are how they should be, right? And if you're eating toxins in animals or plants, guess what? They're going to go into your body too. Cause inflammation, all kinds of problems. I just read some studies that were talking about in eating organic, even just within the first week, your toxic load drops by like 60 to 70%. And over years, that has dramatic effect on disease rates and weight gain and obesity. So does it make or break? Not in the short term, but in the long term, potentially. I think so. Anyway, not that it's a make or break now, but just focus on getting quality and real food options. Number 3, don't fear healthy fats and carbohydrates. Most women, especially if you grew up in the 80s or 90s or, alive during that time, early 2000s, it's like, don't eat fat. And now it's like, only eat fat, right? Don't eat carbs. And both have their place. You need both for thyroid, metabolism, muscle building, recovery, sleep hormones, blood sugars, insulin, everything. But you're not going to be eating carbs from Doritos and Ding Dongs and sugar and sodas. You want to get your carbohydrates from fruit. I literally have a client right now who's like, I can eat fruit. I can. I'm like, yes, absolutely. Vegetables have carbohydrates. Potatoes. I had potatoes last night. Sweet potatoes, other starchy or root vegetables like turnips and parsnips and beets and squash, right? All of those types of things. Those are fantastic for you. Absolutely, you should be eating those. Plantains, whole grains and legumes. A little harder to digest for some people, but still have good carbs in them and some good fiber. Fats, yes, you need fats. Avocados, olives, olive oil, butter, ghee, tallow, coconut oil, all of those are going to be fantastic for you, so make sure you're incorporating them. And within a balanced meal, they're key to support fat loss and muscle instead of preventing it, okay? So don't fall into those fads that say you don't need these things because you absolutely do. Now, rule number 4, don't eliminate added sugar. Sure, if you're like, I'm totally sugar-free, well, don't start adding it, of course. Like you'd be better off not eating it, but a lot of times it's too much for people from where they're coming from. So just limit it for now, right? And that's one of the fastest ways to improve your metabolism and, energy and fat loss. And it's not necessarily inherently bad, though it can be. Obviously, some types of sugars are, but it's just people would consume way too much. The body can't handle it. And sugar and alcohol, this is a very, very important part. They're the only, and I don't have a rule here for alcohol, but ideally you'd cut it out at least for a while to get your body back in balance and then bring it back in if you wanted to and do it the right way. But sugar and alcohol are the only 2 substances that cause, in any amounts, cause your liver to store fat. And if your liver stores fat, you get visceral fat and you get other problems. And the more you consume and the faster you consume it, the worse it gets. Like a Coke, and I'm not saying drink Diet Coke either. By the way, that's a toxin, right? That's a totally different thing. But sugar, like if you drink all that in then 20, 30, 40 minutes, That's a lot of sugar at one time versus if you spread it out over the day, right? So too much sugar is going to lead to all kinds of problems, which you probably know about: blood sugars, increased cravings, high insulin levels, more fat storage, inflammation, fatigue, etc. So you really want to just limit the added sugar. Not natural sugars, added sugar. So soda, sweetened drinks. Now juice is natural because it's coming from fruit, but I would count it as added sugar. It's just so sweet. But candies and desserts, these are obvious, but like your yogurts and your salad dressings and your granola bars and your health bars and your snack foods and all those coffee drinks that you drink, sugar everywhere. And it may not be called sugar. It's going to be some sneaky name in there, but it's all sugar to the body, right? So you don't have to eliminate it. You just want to be choosy and intentional with your choices, right? Don't avoid the carbs. Like I said, just avoid the added sugars that are hidden everywhere and be aware of what you're eating and be intentional about when you eat sugar. And that'll make a huge difference as far as that goes. Now, rule number 5 is to hydrate properly. Hydration's so overlooked and it's so important for your metabolism and energy. You cannot metabolize fat cells without water. And you can't be properly hydrated without minerals, right? Even mild dehydration, 1% dehydrated can cause extra cortisol or fatigue or brain fog, headache, sugar cravings, slower metabolism, poor digestion. Like hydration is key. It's like duct tape. It works for everything. Like when you have any of this stuff going on, you need more water and better minerals, right? And hormones, especially like when your hormones change, you're more sensitive to hydration levels, and especially if you're drinking coffee, exercising, which most of you probably are, and dealing with high stress, which most of you are. So if you combine those 3, you're probably chronically dehydrated. So we got to adjust that, right? And water alone doesn't do it. It's about mineral balance, not more water. And it's not about endless electrolytes either. I do have electrolytes on how to properly hydrate. You can incorporate them as a good strategy, but they got to be high quality. But even just like real spring water is the best way to do it. It's hard to get sometimes unless you're buying it or getting it delivered or whatever, or you have a spring by your house, awesome. But you can even sprinkle some real salt or mineral salt in your water. And yes, use some electrolytes, but they got to be super high quality. And then again, if you don't have proper, or if you do have proper levels of hydration, your hunger is going to be balanced, your digestion, your metabolism, your energy levels, all of that. And sometimes people confuse hunger and cravings, as hunger and cravings, but it's actually dehydration. And so everything improves when you're hydrated. Okay. So super, super key. Do not underestimate the power of proper hydration. People start sleeping better. Their mood stabilizes. And of course, it's not all of a sudden you're going to lose a bunch of weight just by drinking water, but some people do. So super, super key. Now, those are the 5 rules that I would say, create that as your foundation. Now, some of you are like, cool, I need to do that. But many of you are going to be like, well, okay, but I already do this at least most of the time, right? And it's not about perfection either. It's about balance and progression. And some of you are like, I do this 100%, Jared. Well, guess what? If you're doing everything right, there's a reason why you're still stuck. And I've had people who are like, well, I go to functional medicine and I do this and I do this perfectly and I track every macro and it's all single food ingredients and all the things and you're still stuck. Well, here's why. It's not your fault. It's not that this doesn't work. Don't think this doesn't work because it does. It's just that your body doesn't feel safe releasing fat. Many women experience what's called metabolic adaptation. And this is essentially where your body, due to years of stress, flips the switch on your metabolism and it gets stuck in this storage mode versus fat burn mode, even when you're doing everything right. Essentially, it doesn't feel safe. And fat storage truly is a survival mechanism. People think it's all about calories and this and that, but it's survival. Even if your calories are on point, even if you've blah, 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 all the things, you're eating clean, you're working out. If your body doesn't feel safe, it's going to hold on to it, particularly in your belly, your hips, your face, the back of your arms, right? All of that. It's not a lack of effort. I know you're hitting the gym, 3-5 days a week and getting your steps in, hitting your protein. It's that the underlying imbalances in your body are still signaling to keep it storing. Now you're like, well, I've done functional medicine. They're not addressing the right imbalances, or they're not addressing them all together simultaneously while getting your body into this fat burning mode and helping it feel safe, right? And these imbalances have been building for years. This is the kicker. This is what you have to understand. It's not just like all of a sudden your body changed. No, these imbalances have been there just slightly, but when your hormones change and estrogen isn't there to help support your body anymore, the imbalances get worse now. And that's why you gain the weight, or it's harder to lose it. And things that used to work don't work anymore, right? And you get stuck and nothing seems to work, even though it did, even when you're eating clean and you're working out 3 to 5 days a week and you're getting your steps in, you're hitting your protein, your calories are on point and blah, blah, blah. All the things that you've done and they not work, right? It's because your body's in this adaptation and just needs to feel safe. Right? And here's the cool part, the good news, is that when you address these imbalances and you flip that switch, your body can start responding. Fat loss happens, energy improves, mental clarity comes, cravings decrease, digestion improves, sleep improves. In fact, a lot of these things will improve just by following these 5 rules, because these 5 rules will help address imbalances. But sometimes you have to go a bit deeper. And when you do, like my clients, like I said, they lose on average 20 to 35 pounds in 6 weeks. Out of 2,500 people, 90% lose at least 20 pounds. And we do this while preserving muscle without having to work out or kill ourselves, and preserve your metabolism, yes, but also in a way that's sustainable. You got to be able to learn to eat desserts and travel and not have to like count everything and fit it into your macros and kill yourself in the gym, right? That is the key. Now, I just want to show you, there's a few examples. I mean, I have literally thousands of these, but I put on 9 of them here just to go through and show you a couple examples of real people who were completely stuck before. And all of these women are like go-getters, stressed, all the things, and all had tried a million things, but came in and seen some really amazing results. Now, Ashley lost 28 pounds in 6 weeks, business owner, mid to late 40s when she was working with us, and kids are teenagers and older, and just super high stress, tried a million things, all the trainers, all the programs, integrative medicine, etc. 28 pounds in 6 weeks. Christy, same thing. She had young kids, business owner, super holistic, 20 pounds in 6 weeks. Couldn't lose the weight before. Literally, she's like, I feel like I'm pregnant. She looks pregnant, right? But all of that was just fat right in her gut from all the stress, right? Danny, college athlete, got young kids. She's not a college athlete now, but she was. So she works out hard, pushes her body on peptides, all the things. Nothing worked until she came in 27 pounds in 6 weeks, right? Courtney, super fit, super healthy before perimenopause. Perimenopause took its toll and couldn't lose the weight. Nothing was working anymore. Body was out of balance. So she came in and within 5 months lost 45 pounds. Carrie was in her mid 50s and business owner, like super successful, but her blood labs are off. She's insulin resistant. Her doctor, blood pressure, cholesterol, all those problems. But she'd done all the things, right? All the shakes, all the fads, everything, and seen some initial results, but never could really break through and see the results she wanted. And then in 5 months, lost 50 pounds. Denise, who literally came to me saying, Jared, my trainer just told me I was wired to store fat, having spent $10,000 in the last few years with them. She's a corporate HR director, travels like every other week for business and fun. And she's like, my body won't work. And then she comes in and loses 67 pounds in 5 months by addressing this metabolic adaptation, right? Super fun for her and super key to address it. Otherwise, she's doing all the macros and the workouts and just didn't work. Heldana, same type of thing. She's low energy, has got young kids, busy, tried all the things, 52 pounds in 5 months, right? Just like clockwork. And then Amber, super interesting case. She lost 130 pounds in 8 months with us. And she got divorced, changed jobs, moved, and of course was a single mom of I think she has 4 kids at the time, all during that 8 months. Still lost 130 pounds. Casey lost 104 pounds in 9 months. She's a business owner, travels like every other week. She's a makeup artist in Boston, struggled for a long time, tried all the things, CrossFit, all, everything, even integrative approaches, still couldn't lose the weight. And in 9 months, while traveling 2 to 3 weeks out of the month, lost 104 pounds. Right. So all of these women literally coming to me saying, Jared, nothing has worked. I've tried, in their words, everything, right? And everything they've tried is different, but they've tried 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 different approaches, spent thousands of dollars, all of them stressed, and all of them had this adaptation that we had to address. And when we do, we see some amazing results. So that's what has to happen when you're following the 5 rules. The 5 rules will help address it, but sometimes you got to go a little bit deeper if you still feel like you're stuck. Now, if that's you and you're like, gosh, I'm all of these women, I've tried everything. I have all the typical symptoms. I've got all the perimenopause. I've got all the menopause things going on. I need to address deeper stuff. I've got a link below where you can schedule a metabolism assessment with us. And that way we'll go through and figure out where you're at, what's going on, what's holding you back, and what your goals are, and figure out exact path to help you reach those goals. So click that link. We can schedule that. You can schedule that call at a time that works for you. And then we'll go through it all and help you address these imbalances and help you reach your goals.